I always thought the craziest days of my life ended when I left the Marines. 12 years of deployments, sand, gunpowder, and secrets that still rattle around in my chest when the house gets too quiet. But none of that prepared me for what happened on a Wednesday morning in Ridgefall. It started simple. Stupid simple. 3 guys in cheap suits stood at the end of my driveway, holding clipboards like they were auditioning for a low-budget remake of Men in Black. My 8-year-old daughter, Lily, was inside finishing her cereal. My dog, Moose, was barking his head off. I stepped onto the porch, coffee in hand, and one of the guys raised his chin like he owned the street. "Mr. Harlan Pierce," he said. "We're with the Ridgefall Home Governance Association. We need to speak with your daughter regarding juvenile occupancy compliance." I stared at him. "My what?" "Your child," he repeated. "There are regulations. We need to confirm she's living in a code-appropriate environment." I almost laughed. Almost. Because Ridgefall doesn't have an HOA. It's why I bought the house. After years of being ordered around, the last thing I wanted was someone telling me where my trash bins should face on Tuesday mornings. So I told them flatly, "We don't have an HOA, and you're not talking to my kid." That's when the tallest one smirked, and the smallest one subtly angled his phone toward my porch like he was filming Lily through the window. Something inside me snapped awake. A part of me I hadn't heard from in years. The part trained to recognize danger before it announces itself. I stepped down onto the walkway, my coffee forgotten. "Leave. Now." The leader leaned in just enough to test me. "We'll be back," he said, "with the proper authorities." I watched them leave, my jaw tight, my fists tighter. I didn't know it then, but that was the moment my quiet, peaceful life cracked open, and 3 con men stepped straight into the worst mistake of their lives. See, life for me and Lily was simple, and I liked it that way. After losing my wife, Jenna, 3 years ago, it was just the 2 of us. I traded special operations for a quiet cybersecurity job I could do from home. School drop-offs, lunches, bedtime dinosaur facts. I built a bubble around her, one I guarded harder than any military outpost I'd ever been stationed in. Our neighbors were good people. Retired teachers, young families, a few veterans who still walked like they were carrying invisible rucksacks. Nothing dramatic ever happened here. The biggest scandal last year was someone forgetting to bring potato salad to the 4th of July potluck. But then the letters showed up. My elderly neighbor, Mrs. Dalton, came to my door holding an envelope printed with the same fake HOA letterhead the 3 Stooges had flashed at me earlier. "Harlan, is this real?" she asked, her voice trembling. The letter said she owed a $400 fine for unauthorized yard decor. She has 2 ceramic gnomes. That's it. 2 smiling gnomes holding tiny watering cans. I checked the paper, scanned the QR codes, ran the email domain, all of it. Everything about it screamed scam. A few hours later, 4 other neighbors texted me with similar letters. Someone was targeting Ridgefall, and they weren't doing it for pocket change. But it got worse. That afternoon, Lily looked out the living room window and asked, "Daddy, why is that black SUV stopping in front of our house again?" My stomach dropped. Again? I checked my cameras. 3 visits in 2 days. Different drivers, same SUV. Same slow crawl. Same angle toward the windows where Lily usually played. That's when fear shifted into something colder. Sharper. The kind of focus I thought I'd left behind overseas. I started digging. Digital fingerprints. Domain registrations. Shell companies tied to shell companies tied to more shell companies. One name kept appearing. Harbot Residential Solutions, LLC. A business registered only 4 months ago. The same company leasing the SUV. A company tied to a man named Steele Harrington. A real estate parasite known for forcing homeowners into distressed sales. And now, apparently, he wanted Ridgefall. But he wasn't expecting me. Not a dad with a special operations past. Not someone who'd been trained to analyze, infiltrate, neutralize. He thought he was targeting a harmless neighborhood. He didn't know one of the houses held the worst enemy a predator can make. A father with nothing left to lose. 2 days later, everything escalated. It was Thursday, just past 1:45 a.m. The night felt too still. Even the crickets had shut up. I was in my basement office, what Lily jokingly called Daddy's Batcave, pretending to work while really watching my perimeter cams. At exactly 2:03 a.m., my driveway sensor pinged. 3 heat signatures. Moving slow. Deliberate. Predatory. I didn't panic. Didn't shake. Didn't breathe, maybe. Old instincts slid back into place like a familiar weapon. I switched to Cam 4. Black SUV. Lights off. The same three fake HOA clowns stepped out, but no suits this time. Dark clothes. Gloves. The leader whispered, "Kid's room is on the second floor." We moved fast. Kid. Lily. They were here for my daughter. Every cell in my body went ice cold. I opened my secure drawer and grabbed my non-lethal kit, the same one I used to train junior Marines in close-quarters takedowns. Rubber baton, zip ties, and a whole lot of fury. I let them break in. Hell, I even disabled the front camera intentionally so they'd think they bypassed my system. I wanted them inside. I wanted them where I had control. They moved silently through the living room, whispering to each other. Check the office. Grab anything valuable. The kid first. I stayed behind the shadow of the staircase like a ghost. When they started creeping up to Lily's room, the room I had already moved her out of earlier that evening, the room now containing a decoy pillow under a blanket, I stepped out. Quiet. Calm. Deadly. You boys are in the wrong house. All three froze. The smallest one turned first, eyes wide. It's him, he whispered. The leader swung his flashlight toward my face. You don't want to do this, he said shakily. I almost smiled. Oh, I do. Marcus, the muscular one, rushed first, swinging a crowbar like he was reenacting a bar fight. Wrong move. I sidestepped, grabbed his incoming wrist, and twisted. Bone snapped like a dry branch. He screamed. The second one tried to bolt. I kicked his knee out sideways. He collapsed. The leader pulled a gun. I slapped his wrist, disarmed him, and sent the weapon skidding into the hall. He lunged at me. Bad choice. One palm strike to the sternum, one knee to the thigh, one sharp stomp to the kneecap. His body folded to the floor like laundry. 30 seconds. All three on the ground. Crying, cursing, crawling. I zip-tied their arms behind them. You wanted to check on my child? I said, kneeling beside them. Well, here I am checking on you. Their faces twisted. I leaned in. You're going to crawl yourselves to the police station. 6 blocks. On your knees. Or I call the sheriff and let him treat you like the predators you are. The leader spat. You can't make us. I pointed at the security cams. Oh, but the footage can. They looked. They saw. They knew. They crawled. Bleeding knees on asphalt. 6 blocks of humiliation. All of Ridgefall woke up to watch. People filmed. Cheered. Laughed. Mrs. Dalton offered them bottled water, then poured it out when they tried to drink. By the time they reached the station, their suits were shredded and their pride long gone. And I wasn't even close to done with them. The 3 con men broke faster than dry twigs in a campfire. By noon the next day, under pressure from police, and probably from the pain, they gave up everything. Who hired them? Why they targeted me? Why they wanted Lily? It all led back to one man. Steele Harrington. A developer who wanted Ridgefall so badly he hired criminals to create panic, drive people out, and snatch leverage wherever possible, including children. The police raided Harbot Residential that same week. Found forged HOA documents, surveillance photos, lists of pressure points, and cash payouts. And tucked inside Steele's laptop, a file labeled, Pierce, primary target. Notes read, single father, military background, child as leverage, probable compliance under pressure. They thought I'd fold, thought I'd bow, thought I'd be scared. But fear only works on people who don't know what to do with it. Steele was arrested at a private airstrip trying to leave the state. And when the case finally hit court, the prosecutor used every piece of footage I'd collected. 6 months later, all 4 men were in prison, and Ridgefall was safer than ever. But Lily didn't know any of that. To her, life went on. Dinosaur facts, rock collections, bedtime stories, laughing in the sprinkler on Saturday afternoons. And that's how I wanted it. One night, when she was coloring at the table, she looked up sweetly and asked, Daddy, Mrs. Dalton said you made some bad guys crawl. Is that true? I swallowed, smiled gently. Just teaching bullies a lesson, baby. She nodded thoughtfully, then said, Good. Nobody should steal kids. Out of the mouths of children. So yeah, that's the story of how 3 fake HOA enforcers tried to take my daughter. And how they ended up crawling 6 blocks to the police station with knees they'll never forget. Some people say I went too far. Some say I didn't go far enough. Some say I should have let the law handle it from the start. But here's what I'll always believe. When someone threatens your kid, your home, your peace, you don't negotiate. You protect. And sometimes protection looks like a warm hug. And sometimes it looks like three grown men face down on pavement at 3 a.m. Now I want to hear from you. If someone tried to take your child, what would you have done? Comment below. I genuinely want to know what side of this line people stand on. Stay safe. Trust your instincts. And remember, if anyone ever shows up claiming to be an HOA you never signed up for, maybe check their knees first.